In our earlier lesson, we started the discussion about lists in HTML pages. We talked about what we call ordered lists. These are the lists that use the element OL. Today we're going to talk about lists that are unordered. They're going to use the element UL for unordered list. The primary difference is with the list that we looked at in the earlier lesson, every list item had a number or a letter before it, some kind of sequential labeling, something that showed that order was important in the list. With an unordered list, instead of having a number or a letter, things will be listed with a simple bullet. Now, I say a simple bullet, but you'll have control over how that bullet looks. On the first page of your lesson this week, it's going to talk about different bullet styles. Remember, when we styled the ordered list, we were able to talk about whether we wanted a decimal number, a Roman numeral, or a letter. With these types of lists, these unordered lists, we can talk about bullets that are different shapes. There can be a disc shape, a round shape, or even a square shape. So let's go ahead and start in Aptana, and we're going to look at our HTML file. In your book, it talks about trying to find a certain bit of text that includes also available. I'm using the Control F or find feature in order to be able to get to the right spot. Then I'm going to put the UL tag, and I'm going to proceed to list 3 different LI or list items. Remember, the LI should be familiar to you. It's the same thing we use to identify the individual list items as we used in the ordered list. No matter if it's an ordered or unordered list, the individual list items are signified by the LI, the opening LI and the closing LI. Then let's go to the actual CSS file. And we're told here to look for something real specific, and in this case the reset area. So we're going to look for the reset comment, and then we're going to add the UL element to the border, padding, and margin reset. Then we're going to find the place where we reset the list style type. Remember, we did that for the OL earlier. Here we're going to add the UL. Next, we're going to create a new type of content area in the main content lists. And your book is a little confusing on this because it talks about an element of article OL and an element of article UL. Well, the reality is, even though it shows article OL and article UL in your style sheet within your book example, you never made that change. So instead of having an article OL element, you simply have an OL element. We're going to proceed, and we're going to add the article UL element. And just to give you an idea, a reminder of how that works, what this means is if you have just the OL, it would apply to all OL elements in your document. If you have article space OL or article space UL, then it only applies to that OL or UL element that's within an article element. It's a little confusing, but just know that you should get your style sheet up to date and up to speed with what the book is asking for in this particular lesson. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the process of adding article space UL. And again, this means this particular set of instructions or rules is only going to apply to a UL that is embedded within an article tag. So we're going to set the margin very similar to what we set the OL for in the last lesson. In fact, identical. The margin is going to be 1 EM, 0, 1 EM, 2 EM. And font size is going to be the same, 1.3 EM. This next part is going to be different, the list style type. Remember, in this case, we are using an unordered list, so it's not going to deal with a number or a letter. It's going to deal with a shape. Once we have that in place, we go and we'll look at the page, and it's looking pretty good. You'll notice we still have the Roman numerals carrying over from before in the ordered list, but in the unordered list, where we put weddings, birthdays, and family reunions, that is now a disc. Now, we weren't supposed to make it Roman numerals. Remember, it was supposed to be a decimal number, so I'm going back to the style sheet right now and changing that. And when we reload the page, Now we have numbers, regular decimal numbers, for the ordered list, and as you look down to the unordered list, there's discs or bullets just as we would expect them to be. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there was some discrepancy between what the book said as far as the style sheet that we started with and what we actually started with. So we're going to have to add or change the OL element to article OL.